This video is brought to you by the Crafts channel in association with Palmer Metals. For more information, visit www.palmermetals.co.uk. Hello and welcome to the Crafts channel in association with Palmer Metals. I'm here with Corinne Brad, who's got some hammers and things to show us.
Do I worry you when I get equipment
a little
like this?
bit.
Yeah. What I'm going to show you today is how to punch stamp onto metal blanks, and also how to punch holes and rivet blanks so you can build up pieces of jewellery.
Yeah.
This sort of steampunk brooch that we've seen before, it's got pieces riveted into the middle of it.
Okay, so that's you can thread things through there.
Yeah, well what it means is you can secure layer upon layer of metal without the need for adhesive.
Okay.
It's a much more secure bond.
Yep.
The other thing I'm going to show you is also how to stamp sentiments into your blanks.
This one's definitely my favourite.
Do you like that
I think.
one?
Yeah, I might steal it.
But it's really quite simple. What you do need, I recommend a brass hammer. The reason you want a brass hammer is because it doesn't bounce, it's just when you lump it, it doesn't bounce back off. You get a nice clean smack of the hammer, because what you will find is really when you punch stamp onto it, you want one nice clean blow to the hammer. Don't be going tap 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 tap, because you risk the punch moving and it will distort the image.
So do I need goggles for this or some kind of mask for?
I don't believe so. I mean, you know, a lot of companies will recommend that you do wear eye protection.
Yeah.
I'd just say don't look look directly at it. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this copper blank here. This is a flower.
Could be a dog tag there.
It could be a dog tag. It's not going to be a dog tag. I know you're after a dog tag, aren't you? I'm just going to hold this in place on the anvil with a bit of tape. That's really so that it doesn't slide about while I'm working. You can see this mini anvil that I've got here from Palmer Metals. That's so handy.
Yeah.
Because it's got a ring mandrel on it as well. It's got a flat surface here, and it's got a large enough area to stamp onto.
See, I think of anvils like those in Tom and Jerry. But that's much smaller.
It's also mounted on a sandbag.
Okay.
This also, it stops the vibration going up your wrist. If you're doing a lot of hammering, it's a lot easier on your wrist because you don't get that vibration coming back. It's like a shock absorber. So I'm going to use this 6mm set. As you can see, you've got a large metal punch with the reverse letter on the back of it.
Then you've got smaller letters there as well.
I've got some tiny ones. That's the ones that I did the heart-shaped pendant with.
Yeah.
But just for ease to show you what I'm doing, I'm going to use the larger ones. If you use the smaller ones, you need to practice it a little bit, because when you put it down like this, you've got to imagine that the letter is right in the centre of the punch. Okay. So when you're doing your spacing, you've got to compensate for the edges of it.
Okay, I haven't got the steadiest of hands.
No, to be honest, you don't need it.
Is this okay for beginners or?
Yeah, I mean, I hold it like that. You can get things called thumb savers, which will hold it in place.
That sounds like a good idea.
But essentially, Abby, as long as you don't put your thumb over the end of it, you're going to be okay.
Okay.
So rest your hand.
I'm trusting you here, Corinne. I'm very close.
Check you've got your punch the right way up. It's always a common mistake. Rest your hand on the anvil, put the punch flat against the metal blank. This is a £1 hammer. You can get £2 hammers as well. If you've got a thicker blank and you need to indent the surface more, you'd probably be better with a heavier hammer.
Okay.
And then you just simply give it a good whack.
Okay, that wasn't so scary.
Okay. Now that I don't think is deep enough.
No, it's not.
But if you're really careful, you can feel where the indentation is, and you can line your stamp back up again. And I'm going to give it 2 whacks. Okay?
Yeah.
So you've got a nice solid image. And let's just put an S on there for you, Abby, as your Abby Southern.
I am Abby Southern.
But try and give it a good clean whack of the hammer. Don't sort of muck about tapping it a little bit.
Yep.
Okay.
See, yeah.
So it comes out, and I'll turn
I like
it this way.
the font on that as well.
It is a nice font. It's a very pretty font.
It is good for steampunk and things like that. It's got that kind of Victorian.
The other thing you can do, if you've got a bit of almost like boot blacking or ink, you can rub it into the surface of it to indent it, you know, to make it highlight more.
How about that oxidising stuff you used before? Does that work well?
Yeah, that does. I mean, I've tended to oxidise the blanks first and then stamp into it. I mean, it really depends. If you're doing oxidisation on things, you might as well do all of that first of all, and then sit down and do all of your stamping. I'm just going to move this to one side now, because I'm just going to show you how to rivet and punch holes in blanks. These are punch pliers. These are great.
You've got a whole set of pliers there.
Yeah, they're just
These are all-
normal jewellery
yeah.
tool pliers. You'd
Okay.
snipe those pliers for putting jump rings in and things like this.
Yeah.
But these pliers, they've got the punch in the end of it, which is a very sharp edged piece of metal.
Like a hole punch.
Like a hole punch. And quite simply, you just place it in the jaws and squeeze it.
Oh.
And it goes straight through. Punches a really nice clean hole.
Oh, brilliant.
So that would be ideal if you just wanted to put a jump ring in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and have it as a pendant.
Exactly. The other thing that you can do is we've got here some rivets
Yeah.
and some eyelets. So if you wanted to attach
Different
something like
elements,
this to it, let's pop that there. Yeah. You can, I just need to scratch the surface of this so I know where to put my hole. A pencil would work much better than the scalpel, but I don't actually have one to hand. This little tool here, this riveting tool, is fantastic because what you've got is you've got a hole punch on one side, and then you've got the rivet setter on the other. So you pop your blank.
And these are from...
These are also from Palmer Metals as
Yeah.
well. You look, see where you've made the scratch mark where you want to make the hole. You pop your blank in there.
You don't have to do this with a huge amount of force.
No, I mean all this is, I mean you've got nice long arms on this, so
Yeah.
it gives you more force, and it would just go straight through. And then you just need to ease it off of the cutting pin.
Okay.
As
so
you can
that's
see,
similar-
these are the bits that come out at the end of
So
it.
that's similar to the...
Similar to the punch pliers.
Mhm.
I mean, this, if you're going to put rivets in it, you might as well use this tool because you'll need the rivet setter as
Yeah.
well. If you place your copper bit here,
So you're just lining up the cog. with
yeah, lining
the,
up the holes in the cog and the one that I've punched.
Yeah.
Have a look at the thickness of it. I mean, the rivets do tend to come in different thicknesses. You'd need really small fingers for this. Pop a rivet in the hole,
Yeah.
and then you need to flip it over. And I don't know if you can see on here, in this rivet setter, there is a cup.
Yeah.
The top of that rivet needs to sit in the cup. Which way am I going? That way. It needs to fit in the cup. It's anti-clockwise to make it up, and
Okay.
clockwise to screw it down. So it's in the cup.
Fingers out of the way. Even if you're not a fan of copper, you could always use the gold blanks as well. If that,
Or the
if you're
brass
into more
ones or
of
the
a-
silver. I would recommend, really, that what you do is you practice with the cheaper base metals
Yeah.
and then move on to the more expensive metals, because there is nothing worse than mucking it up, basically.
Yeah.
And that's, you can still turn that cogwheel, but it's held on really securely.
Yeah, and you could easily just put a jump ring on the side there and have that as a pendant, attached it to a
Yeah.
necklace.
Well, the other thing I've done here, I mean, this brass blank here, this leaf blank, I've attached, this is a flattened out bead cap and a brass charm that have been attached with a rivet.
Almost looks kind of a multimedia effect, isn't it?
Yeah, well,
With
this
all
has been
the,
coloured with alcohol inks.
Yeah. Will
Um,
they stay on?
Yeah, they will stay on.
Oh, brilliant.
I mean, what I would say, if you're going to wear jewellery and you wear a lot of perfume, be careful because sometimes perfume will take the ink off.
Okay.
But provided you're clean skinned, as it were, they'll stay on. And then
Okay.
these other little charms here that I've made, just with little nail heads in them.
What I like about these, I know I'm a knitter, so this is, but you could use
You're
these
going to
as-
use these as
stitch
row
markers.
counters, aren't you? And this one here, just another thing, if you do muck it up,
Yeah.
which you will muck it up to start with, there's nothing stopping you taking the copper blank and beating it until it's flat again and you've got rid of all the indentation, because that's what I did with this.
Interesting effect with that, because it's almost three-dimensional. Well, it is three-dimensional with all the grooves in it.
Yeah, but that was essentially a piece that I mucked up to start with.
Well, that's
and
not
because I
hesitant.
can't bear to throw anything away, I then hammered it out again and put piece across the middle of it and then attached it to this blank. And then also what I've done is I've used eyelets.
Mm-hmm.
These are tiara cast spacer beads.
Yeah.
Now the great thing about the tiara cast beads, because they are metal, you can make the hole in them slightly bigger with the riveter.
Yeah.
And then you can thread the eyelets through it and secure it to the back. So you've got these lovely leather flowers.
Brilliant.
So have a play around with it.
Yeah, brilliant.
You know, they are really simple tools to use, and there's a whole array of copper and brass blanks and silver sheet that you can get from Palmer's.
Yeah.
You can make anything to your heart's desire, but I'm not making you a dog tag.
No. Thank you very much, Corinne. That's all we have time for here today. Well, join us again on the Crafts channel.